A 2.8-mile hike through downtown Chicago this weekend currently functions as a highly coordinated tactical deployment of battery pack-wielding screen tappers. Thousands of adults are swarming Grant Park for the 10-year anniversary of Pokemon Go Fest, operating with, militant precision. You read the Sun-Times reporting, and it anchors this massive influx of humanity to very specific ground-level behaviors. You have Jason De La Cruz standing in a park, actually running 3 different accounts simultaneously across multiple devices. James O'Neill engineered homemade hat clips just to optimize his gameplay in the blinding sun. Garrett and Joel literally staged a surprise engagement, producing a wedding ring directly in the middle of a digital monster hunt.
Does the average attendee even possess the physical stamina required to survive this 3-day marathon? The festival spans Friday to Sunday, running from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day across an expanded investigations district.
They basically take over the entire city.
Traversing miles of concrete forces, savvy attendees to find alternate hunting grounds just to maintain their pace and keep their app functioning. They are fighting through massive crowds, battling the summer heat.
And the sheer density of humans packed into Grant Park creates a huge bottleneck, actually. We are tracking how this software dictates the physical movement, the spending habits, the minute-by-minute scheduling, and the geographic dispersion of tens of thousands of adults across a major metropolitan city. You might watch the news and just see people casually playing a game on their phones.
Pushing the overflow of players directly into the Lincoln Park Zoo is a direct consequence of that scale. Operating as an official partner and trainer lounge for the entire weekend, the zoo acts as a pressure release valve for the central city. The geographic layout places this 49-acre space on the southernmost edge of the investigations district.
Because the facility is entirely free to enter 365 days a year, it functions like a VIP sanctuary for players fleeing the crushing crowds down at Navy Pier or the museum campus.
Geographically positioning the zoo as a base camp allows players to escape the concrete heat island of downtown and get a more, a shaded neighborhood environment. They establish their bearings, then spread out toward the Chicago History Museum or the Lake Michigan beaches.
The developers built dozens of in-game checkpoints, Pokestops, directly into the local statues and memorial plaques scattered throughout the animal enclosures. You walk 3 miles to arrive at one of the nation's premier conservation centers, and you just stare relentlessly at your phone. They are ignoring actual gorillas. You even have people walking right past a literal baby rhino.
Perceiving the famous turtle, shell-shaped People's Gas Education Pavilion, designed by Gene Gang, not as architectural art, but as a dense cluster of digital nodes yielding necessary raid passes. That is how augmented reality design inherently alters spatial awareness.
The physical landmark's value becomes entirely subordinated to its utility within the game's economy. They walk directly past the Pritzker Family Children's Zoo, where Misty and Tucker-2 North American river otters are swimming around.
Housing over 170 species, from aardvarks to zebras, the zoo becomes a background asset. These players dedicate their entire visual focus to a pixelated creature hovering over the sidewalk.
The players treat the environment as a treadmill to power their application. Walking the 2.8 miles from Grant Park up to the zoo serves a massive dual purpose, actually. We need to explain that mechanic to you.
Logging enough distance on the app's pedometer to almost hatch a 5-kilometer in-game egg requires completing that entire trek from Grant Park.
When you play this game, you receive digital eggs containing rare creatures. The only way to open them is by physically walking a certain distance with your phone in your pocket.
Hatching a 5-kilometer egg requires you to walk just over 3 miles.
You literally power the hatching mechanism with your own biological movement. The absurdity of the situation is staggering. Staring at a phone while physically standing near the Walter Family Arctic Tundra exhibit does not equal engagement with the grizzly bears Ash and Lexi.
Achieving 25 years of massive accomplishments in species conservation, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Population Management Center at Lincoln Park Zoo recently hatched a cinereous vulture chick.
The primary interaction these thousands of visitors have with the space involve extracting virtual items from invisible checkpoints layered over the grounds. I push back heavily on the idea that they are experiencing Chicago. They are experiencing a Californian server grid mapped over Chicago,
generating a massive economic footprint for the surrounding areas. The physical presence of these players strains local infrastructure. Boarding the 151 CTA bus at Michigan Avenue and Monroe Street highlights the stark financial reality of navigating the festival.
Those unwilling to walk the 2.8 miles ride north until they hit Stockton Drive and Webster Avenue directly outside the West Gate.
Taking the brown or purple line trains from the Adams Wabash Station up to Armitage Avenue is another major route.
Forcing an interaction with the city's transit infrastructure is an unavoidable consequence of the sheer volume of people. For players attempting to drive, the financial contrast hits hard.
Offering free admission, the zoo does not charge an entrance fee.
Parking your car at the lot on 2400 North Cannon Drive costs between $35 and $45 for the day. You avoid paying an entrance fee to see the animals, but you pay a premium just to leave your car behind while you stare at your screen.
Issuing official directives to players dictates intense preparation before they even arrive at the park.
Surviving the physical journey to the zoo requires massive stamina, but participating in the game requires severe digital inventory management.
Clearing their digital inventory entirely is a mandatory prerequisite. The digital preparation is far more rigorous than the physical packing.
They have to pre-walk their virtual eggs so they are ready to hatch the moment they step into the park.
Reserving space in their digital bags specifically for essential items like pinnap berries requires continuous cognitive load.
Wait, you have to explain what a pinnap berry is doing to these people's brains. Why are they hoarding them like rations?
Doubling the amount of candy a player receives when they successfully catch a creature, a pinnap berry is an in-game consumable item.
That candy is basically the currency required to make the creature stronger. Finding rare creatures at this event happens once a year.
Running out of pinnap berries means they're leaving half of their potential progression on the table.
Deciding to discard basic Pokeballs to ensure sufficient capacity for berries demands constant resource triage. The player is never simply walking. They are calculating inventory limits.
Operating identically to military checkpoints to facilitate this operation, the physical meetup spots organize their labor. The packing list recommended for these players mirrors the preparation required for a wilderness survival expedition.
You are instructed to bring portable chargers, massive water bottles, highly specific weather gear, and specialized walking shoes. Preparing for a walk around a municipal park feels like gearing up for an ascent of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Acting as a processing center, the official trainer lounge tent set up directly in front of Edie Levy's landmark cafe along the zoo's main mall receives these players.
You combine the physical weight of the survival gear with the mental weight of the inventory calculus, and leisure time transforms into a highly demanding logistical operation. Players go to the tent to rest and extract exclusive event perks.
Gathering at 8 a.m. to complete targeted research within this specific zone secures what the game calls an expert badge. Daily tactical briefings occur at the Lester E. Fisher Bridge near the Nature Boardwalk.
You hear the phrase, organize their labor, and you realize this is unpaid work.
Unlocking an encounter with Mewtwo and exclusive location backgrounds requires completing the zone that contains Lincoln Park Zoo.
The game developers actively manage the physical density of the city by manipulating these digital rewards. They dangle a rare creature in Lincoln Park, and suddenly 10,000 people migrate north away from the overwhelmed Central Park areas.
Navigating the conflicting schedules of the city and the game requires players to optimize their movements with extreme precision. The citywide play hours are locked between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
The zoo operates on its own overlapping schedule, opening gates at 8 a.m. Building access is restricted until 10 a.m.
Closing the gates a half hour before the zoo shuts down at 5 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, or 7 p.m. on the weekend, creates a hard deadline.
Dictating precisely when and where they need to be to maximize their investment, the algorithm schedules their entire weekend. The schedule optimization creates bizarre micro-interactions across the city.
Documenting people inspecting merchandise, staring at Pokemon socks, and showing off their Pokemon tattoos while standing in the middle of a major metropolitan park, the Sun-Times captured this weird dynamic.
Kids like 10-year-old Adar and his 5-year-old brother Joe Mart sit on the grass inspecting physical trading cards.
Running 3 different digital accounts on separate phones, the adults around them display a striking generational gap in how they interact with this intellectual property.
The kids treat it like a game. The adults treat it like a day trading floor.
Carrying 2 or 3 phones allows one physical human to provide the digital firepower of an entire squad.
A single person often cannot defeat the strongest creatures alone in the game's cooperative battles. All of this rigorous physical marching, the obsessive digital inventory management, the tactical meetups, they culminate in the final 30 minutes of the park experience.
Stripping away all player autonomy, the game drops the Niantic Super Mega Raid update.
You spend the whole day wandering freely, choosing what to catch, choosing where to walk. Then the final half hour hits. Players must face either Mega Mewtwo X or Mega Mewtwo Y.
Receiving a mandatory assignment indicated by a star-shaped mark on their in-game map, players are banned from freely choosing a nearby gym to battle.
Requiring up to 20 people tapping their screens frantically to defeat an immensely powerful creature, a Mega Raid is a cooperative boss fight.
Gaining a fighting-type attribute, the Mega Mewtwo X variant demands a completely different set of counter-creatures than the Psychic-type Y variant.
Attempting to select 6 specific creatures from an inventory of thousands while standing in a chaotic crowd creates interface bottlenecks.
Allowing players to enter the battle instantly when their assigned time arrives, pre-built teams eliminate that friction. Players engaging in these massive battles must save their specific raid configurations in advance.
Getting assigned a specific digital gym feels identical to receiving a mandatory court summons. A game built entirely on the premise of wandering freely and exploring your neighborhood operates with the rigid, non-negotiable scheduling of a dentist's office. You do not get to choose the boss, the location is entirely out of your control, the app issues a directive, and you comply.
Dictating exact geographic coordinates prevents thousands of players from stampeding toward a single, unscheduled spawn point.
Niantic engineered this mandatory assignment system strictly to manage crowd control and ensure physical safety.
Resulting in dangerous surges of human traffic blocking streets and overwhelming local infrastructure, that lack of structure in the early years forced a redesign. Standard raid battles previously allowed organic gathering.
Pre-assigning locations allows the developers to distribute the player base evenly across the park grid. They email the participation instructions and area confirmations to ticket holders in advance, forcing a highly regulated dispersion of bodies.
Emphasizing that players must review the information provided in advance before participating, they remind everyone to be aware of their surroundings and follow guidelines from local health authorities.
The language they use in their update is incredibly sterile. The contrast between the chaos of the original launch a decade ago and this hyper-managed experience is massive. You went from teenagers running wildly through traffic to catch a Vaporeon in 2016 to adults standing in pre-assigned, star-marked designated zones holding printed emails in 2026. The spontaneity is entirely gone.
Representing a shift from an organic viral phenomenon to industrialized event management, the 10-year anniversary showcases behavioral control mechanisms that are highly refined after a decade of data collection.
Removing choice removes unpredictability. They guarantee that the server loads remain stable and the city's streets remain passable.
Submitting willingly to this control, the players exchange their autonomy for exclusive digital rewards. Niantic understands precisely how to manipulate player distribution to prevent network failure and physical congestion.
The operation demands strict compliance. When that final 30-minute window opens, you go directly where the star tells you to go. The illusion of an open-world exploration game shatters entirely, revealing a rigid framework of behavioral control. The algorithm tells you when to walk. It dictates where you stand. It forces you to throw out items from your bag. You are assigned a specific enemy to battle. You act as a biological component executing a script written by developers in California.
Defining this entire event is the subordination of physical reality to digital utility. We see this in the Sun-Times photos. A player walking their dog, Obsidian, through Grant Park remains entirely fixated on their device.
They treat the dog walk merely as a secondary mechanism to hatch digital eggs.
Penalizing visual attention to the real world, the game demands constant physical movement. You are required to walk miles through the city, but if you glance up to admire the skyline or the lakefront, you miss a rare spawn or mismanage your bag space.
The willingness to submit to this massive logistical burden is the most fascinating aspect of the entire weekend. People are paying for flights, they're booking hotels, they navigate the CTA, pay $45 for parking, walk nearly 3 miles in the blinding sun, manage their digital inventory like a supply chain manager, and stand in pre-assigned zones just to tap a screen until a digital monster is defeated. The algorithm of a decade-old mobile game successfully dictates the physical movement, the spending habits, the minute-by-minute scheduling, and the geographic dispersion of thousands of adults across a major metropolitan city with more efficiency than most local governments. Goodbye.